know, I want to learn about your family and whatnot because unfortunately, a lot of persons with disability may feel as though they cannot find love, they cannot create their families and everything. But I want you to tell us about your story.
All right. As I say, I don't know. I think it's a product of my upbringing and my background. I'm confident and cocky. Not funny.
No, stop yourself.
I always knew that me I get one good wife and me I get fully and all them things from before. But of course, yeah. I just true, economics of it. I said no, one child is enough. I'm good.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. But growing up, you always had hopes and visions. And of course, you're always gonna hear people say, you have girlfriend, how is your love life?
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Overcomaz. This is Marsha and my co-host is Andre, and today we have the wonderful Mr. Kevin Powell. What's up, Wagwan?
Hey Marsha, hey Andre, I am here. I am doing well. How are things on your side? I know you are in cold Canada, or is it warm now?
It is very hot. It's probably like 27 degrees.
All right. It's
hot.
It's always hot in Jamaica, so I can relate. Yep.
But we don't have trees. We don't have no trees near here, so it's very hot.
Some nice fruits.
Yeah.
Show off.
I guess that makes a difference. We have mango. Yeah.
But right, if we have so much mango outside that drop off of the trees, go smell really bad here.
No, we use them to make juice, so we're good.
Yep, we're good. We find use for our mangoes, man.
So, Mr. Powell, we are aware that you have a disability, but that might be rare in Jamaica. So, I want you to tell us a little bit about your disability and also about your title and what you are doing in Jamaica at the moment.
All right. So, yes, my name is Kevin Powell. I am a person living with a disability called, wait for it, Arthrogryposis. I'm breaking up in syllables for all my friends out there, but it's a joint disorder that affects both the joints in your hands and your legs. Mine affects the joints in my legs, as a result of which my legs are weak. Yeah, one weaker than the other, and so I use a crutch, a pair of crutch to walk. And of course, when the place get too big and crowded and just, big, I use a wheelchair to get around. But yes, the condition affects mostly mobility issues.
Oh.
Yes, so you asked about title. I don't know. I'm a husband. I'm a father. Those are titles. But I'm also an educator. I'm the director of student affairs at the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC. Big up yourself. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. As I state, I'm not familiar with the disability, but it seems quite interesting. So, were you born with that disability, or it occurred over time?
Yes, so I was born with that disability. So I was told, because of course I couldn't remember, but my mom told me that when I was born, my legs were actually folded like this.
In the prayer position.
In the prayer position, yes. And normally the legs are supposed to be free and but it was said, my mom, when she questioned her doctor, that her womb was too small. So the legs and the joints didn't get a chance to be free and to be developed. And the joints, joints can flex and stuff. Mine can't. So there's a kind of, deformity in the joints of the legs that would cause me not to be mobile. Pretty rare. I think it's pretty rare in Jamaica, but in the States, I know it's a pretty common condition that affects many children.
So How was it like for you growing up? Because you said that you were actually born with it. So like,
Yeah.
what was it like for you growing up?
Growing up was good, and I had a pretty decent childhood. I must say, I was blessed. I live with both my parents. I must say, I had a unique experience in terms of schooling. Though I went to a primary school in Jamaica called the Hope Valley Experimental School, and this is a school that is located in the Papine Mona area.
Okay, yes.
And it's a unique institution in that it mixes and fuses people or children with disabilities, varying physical disabilities mostly, with students who are able-bodied. And so growing up, it was an integrated institution. So I think it was beneficial for me because I was never made to feel different. Yes, because all the other students in that environment were accustomed to seeing students with physical disabilities. So I didn't have much of. I had some moments, but I didn't have much of the teasing and the name calling that that when you actually go into the wider society, you actually
that's when you get exposed.
That is when you get that kind of exposure. So yeah, so I went to Hope Valley, very, very good school. Took me through the ropes of back in the day. You did common entrance and stuff. Yeah. These PEP and GSAT students don't know nothing about common entrance.
Really no.
Yes. No, man.
Old people ever talk, man.
I did GSAT. I was a second year.
You're a GSAT baby. See, you know nothing about math, English, and mental ability.
Yes, man.
We did math, English, social studies, science, and language ability.
Yeah, too much things, and still
but guess what? Only did have to do it 3 times. No, some people do it 3 times and never pass. You have a one shot, one shot and go. Right. Many people don't come in entrance. I'll tell them at all age school because them could have.
That is true. That is true. You had first choice, first option, second option, third option that you had to do. Yeah. But yes, so I had that, and then I passed for the greatest institution in Jamaica, the Calabar High School.
That is why you're coming at green.
That is why I have a bit of green and black.
After everything, say Wakanda forever. I actually see by come.
But hold on. I'll have you know that Calabar belongs to a port in Nigeria. It's named after.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
I'm all aligned, baby girl. I'm all aligned. Calabar.
Yeah. So what was the experience like at Calabar?
So Calabar now, funny enough, it was much of the same too. And I tell you why. Calabar has always had a long-standing history of supporting students with disabilities because Calabar was a feeder school, still is a feeder school for the Jamaica School for the Blind.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's true.
For the Blind is actually on Manningsville Road, and so most of the boys who went to the Jamaica School for the Blind actually matriculated and Calabar was a feeder school for those blind students. So Calabar had always had a history of dealing with students with special needs. So when I came, I think I was probably the first person though who would have come to Calabar with this physical disability using a wheelchair. And it was good. I mean, the facilities at Calabar was very conducive to accessing classrooms. Most of the classrooms at Calabar were on the flat, and you could access them using ramps and stuff. So it was pretty accessible. And I had I had a very pretty normal childhood experience growing up. So at Calabar, I tell this story all the while. At Calabar, it was customary for me to come out of my wheelchair and go into the normal chair, and for my wheelchair to be used as taxi service along the convoy. Yeah, my friends would just take my
C-bar.
That happens at C-bar. So my friends would literally take my chair and do whatever, just run taxi.
So did you take offense to that, or you just found it funny?
No. In fact, I took beating for that. My father scolded me quite a few times.
Which makes sense.
These are your feet, son. You know, these other students have foot.
And wheelchair probably very expensive.
And wheelchair is expensive. You don't want to do that. So I was more scolded and, you know, put in the naughty corner for having my chair run up and down. And of course, go back to school the next day and just make it happen again because...
Why pay taxi?
What's the big deal, Dad? The wheelchair, come on.
You know, you mentioned something and I have to commend schools in the corporate area because I think I've heard of St. George's and Calabar and a few other schools that cater to kids with disabilities.
Meadowbrook as well. Quite a few.
In the West, most of our schools are not equipped.
The more rural you go, the less access.
You're not gonna come with that, you know. You're not come with that.
It is true though.
Country people are right doing it sometimes.
I'm not from the country. I'm from the second city, Montego Bay. Please.
First of all, most of the rural schools in our hill hard to climb.
Well, my school is on a hill, but it's in the city.
Okay.
It's still kind of hilly though.
It's on the hill. It's what I was trying to say is that, you know, like those schools are equipped with ramps for moving wheelchair and those things that a lot of schools on the West.
But listen, I think though it's an indictment on the Jamaican society that all schools are not accessible. I would love to see a Jamaica where all schools, up to recently, I think 2 years ago, there was this big conversation piece in the newspaper about a student who wasn't able to access classrooms in a particular high school. I will not call the school's name, but that was 2 years ago. And I'm like, we need to have
that's still a go on
away from now. I mean,
I think I heard. I think I heard Tifa mentioning before that she couldn't use a wheelchair at her school.
I think she went to Arden, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. But I wanted to go to Arden when I was choosing schools, when I was doing common entrance. Arden was my first option, and then Calabar was my second option. And I think it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it worked out for you.
Because whenever I passed, and it drove home for me every time I passed Arden High School, where I would just see flights of stairs just like that. But also, I lived near to Calabar. I lived off Red Hills Road as well. And there are many times when my parent or my father wasn't able to afford the taxi fare transportation cost to go back and forth, that he would literally push me in my chair on the road, on the dangerous roads of Jamaica, on Red Hills Road, to back and forth to school in the boiling sun, sweat running down his face, and he would push me back and forth. So I think it was a blessing to have been chosen
to travel.
So after Calabar, what was the transition for you like after Calabar? Like, did you go to university and what was that like?
All right, so this is where now I got a real taste. I think
Awakening.
Calabar and Hope, there you go. I think Calabar and Hope Valley sheltered me so much because man, I had those were two environments that were really overprotective of me. I literally had friends who would fight kingdom and move heaven and earth for me at both those schools. And of course that a very strong support mechanism at Calabar and a very strong support mechanism at Hope Valley. Here I was now 18, 19, having left sixth form now, heading to the great UWI. And I was, as you said, Marsha,
Pelicans.
a rude awakening. Because here now, one, I was fully on my crutches now. I didn't even have access to a wheelchair anymore because I stopped using the wheelchair when I went to sixth form. Because Calabar sixth form now was upstairs. And I was like, okay, I did 5 years in the wheelchair. All right, Kevin, you can do 2 years hopping up and down the stairs. That's easy. I did that. So the chair was no longer my main source of movement. So here I am now, 18, 19, going to this big campus called UWI Mona. And this for me was where I think the reality of my disability came full-fledged for me. Because one, there were no transportation issues that I had to contend with. I didn't live on hall, so that means that would have meant going back and forth every day from Red Hills Road to the great UA campus, which meant for me going on buses, which meant traveling with my backpack on my back.
And your crutches.
And on my, yes, with my crutches. It meant if a class started at 10 o'clock, you best believe I would need to start walking from 9 o'clock. I would literally map out the campus to see what are the short routes, because I have an issue here. I can't walk for too long without resting.
I can imagine.
Once I start walking there, my back gets strained. I feel the pain in my back and I feel pain in my legs. So I always have to visualize, where are my rest stops? How long will it take me from place X to place Y? And I literally have to, along with the pressure of being a student, calibrate where my movements are going to be along the journey from point A to point B. And so that was just challenging. I remember one Friday evening, I had about a 5 o'clock class ended 6, and the rain decided it was going to fall that day.
Sorry for laughing, but I remember those rainy days at UWI. I know everything can be flooded.
You understand? So here I was at Mary C. Cole where the bus stop was, waiting on the taxi to come. There was a seat there, and I was sitting there and I was waiting. And believe you me, the rain came out of nowhere. And everybody else who was sitting beside me,
Take with
themselves, go and look shelter. Me there, like, where may I run go? Like, oh, what is a run? Run where? What am I running for? How am I gonna do this running thing, you know? And I sat there drenched in the rainwater.
And then nobody no one take up you.
No, take up. Why are you going to take me up? What is that? Precisely, Jamaica is not necessarily one of the most caring societies.
When them
who's gonna, So those were some of the experiences. And my second year, like my third year at UWI, I decided, no, I am not going to have the struggle of trying to finish this third year and having to deal with the back and forth and the struggles of transportation. So I lived on Hall, and that was no, Taylor. What are you talking about?
Taylor Hall and
Hall of Halls.
Taylor Hall and Hall at all them asleep on wall. They need a beddy. I was a Rexton. I'm a Rexton.
Oh, you're what's a Rex? Rex is a new hall. Like Rex is so new. Rex is a hotel. Rex is not a hall. Rex is a hotel.
No, you know that everybody, because I was very active in sports and dance and everything, they thought I was going to go to Taylor, but I was like, me no want to share with nobody. Me live with my sister. Me share all of my life. Me no want to share with nobody. It's so intimately. I share that bathroom in Rex.
That was the benefit of being on Rex. Yeah, that was the benefit of being on Rex. But so I was on Taylor, and that was last year was really,
which block?
Really nice. Attica.
Oh yeah, they're on Attica the one day. But Attica a little far in though.
Attica, yeah. So I still had my fear, so I still had to walk. I still had to plan my matches, but it wasn't as pressuring. Yeah, it wasn't as pressuring as before. But yeah, those were some of the biggest issues for me. Then you know, it was really an eye opener, because I fully understood then that Jamaica, the Jamaican system, transportation system, just network of support was really lacking. Yeah, was really lacking for people with disabilities.
Mr. Powell, Kevin, I want to ask you a question. I know that in my time at UWI, I don't know what year you graduated or started. I don't want to start calculating your age. But I remember when I was at UWI, they had this like access and disability center or something like that.
Office of Students Services for special students with special needs. Yeah,
but
that was my go-to office.
Because I know that they normally assign the persons, but mostly blind persons. I would have seen on campus. I was going to ask you if that was an facility.
That was an avenue that I used, but again, I only learned about that avenue probably, I think it was my second or third year, or the latter part of second year into third year. And I think it was a big help, because one of the things that one of the services offered through that office was that I was able to go to I was able to go to the office to do my exams. So I didn't necessarily have to do my exams with a big crowd. The invigilators would come to that office, and we would get a room, and I would get I would get 30 minutes extra just because. Yeah, that was awesome.
So them cheat for you.
Yeah.
Them cheat
That
for
was
you.
just awesome. No, you just
No,
get more
not
time.
cheat.
You need it.
You
You
get some,
need it. You
it's a
know,
little bit of
yeah.
extra privilege. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So
So
that
now,
was good. And that was a good support mechanism, I think, on campus.
So I commend you for that because
Yeah.
even at the university that I attended here, I did note taking for a disabled student for a semester. I took all his notes and I uploaded them on a system and I provided
Yeah.
them. No, you
Yeah,
mentioned
that a big system at UA for the blind students. So yeah, that's true.
you mentioned earlier that you're a father and that you are also the director of student services. So I want you to first talk about your career life, and then I want to find out about your family life because
Sure. All right. So yeah, I'm a people person. I've been in education for the last 16, 17 years. As an educator, I started UCC as actually one of my first place of employ. And one of the things I must say I want to commend publicly here, I often do it, commend that university for even employing somebody with a disability, because as we take it, you'll be frightened to hear the stories out there of people who cannot get employment because
Robert,
of,
for example, that we interviewed, he's blind, he cannot get a job.
Okay, yeah. Lots of discriminatory practices exist in the
our
employment
society.
industry where people with disabilities are concerned. So I must give kudos to UCC for seeing the vision and seeing potential in me. I mean, I was qualified, so but I've been in education for the last 16, 17 years. I started out as a lecturer. I was a communication lecturer. So I do all things writing, public speaking, literature, the humanities. Those are the courses that I would normally teach. And then I moved up the ranks to head of department. I was in charge of the Department of General Studies and Behavioral Sciences at one point. That had all the social work courses, the psychology courses, and the general education courses. And then, well, before that, even before I was formally appointed as director, I was always doing student services related stuff, because anybody who knows Mr. Powell on campus can tell you I'm a people person. I'm the one who will, if there's a crowd of students around any teacher, they're going to be around. I mean, yeah.
Full of vibes like that.
I'm like that, and I've always been the one to look out for the needs of students and look out for us, because I wanted somebody to look out for my needs. So I was always gravitating towards that. So even before I was formally appointed in the role of student affairs director, I was performing those tasks. I recall many years before I got that role, some of the boys who were in the day cohort said, "Sir, they want to form a football club or football group." I said, "Yeah, man, let's do it." And I was their manager until I entered them into the Intercollegiate Sports Association competitions. And I would take my little understream and drive them to UTech and to UA and to wherever to do their matches. So I was playing that role, but I was playing that role unofficially until a couple of years ago, my VP said, we need a student services director, and I think you're the perfect person. And so I came out of full lecturing and the academic side of UCC into this administrative post, where I know I'm in charge of all the student service related matters, from counseling to financial support, scholarships, clubs and societies, student council, you name it. As it relates to student support, I give leadership for that at UCC.
So actually, like, you are in my field. This is my trajectory you're mentioning now, because I now work in the prospective students office at my university, and that is my vision going forward.
Okay,
So
great.
you beautifully explained about what your life is as a professor, as a director of student services. Now, I want to learn about your family and whatnot, because unfortunately, a lot of persons with disability may feel as though they cannot find love, they cannot create their families and everything. But I want you to tell us about your story.
Right. As I say, I don't know. I think it's a product of my upbringing. upbringing and my background, I'm confident and cocky. Not funny.
Just stop yourself.
I always knew that me I get one good wife and me I get and all them things from before. But of course, yeah. Just true, economics of it. I said no, one child is enough. I'm good.
No, yeah,
I'm good. But growing up, you always had hopes and visions, and of course, you're always going to hear people say, you have girlfriend, how is your love life is and stuff, and I always probably kept that part of my life private. There were lots of love interests that I had growing up that for one reason or the other didn't materialize, and I'm not going to fool myself to not think that being disabled was also a part of why it never materialized, right? So I'm not going to fool myself, but I also grew up in church, so I'm a big church man. So there were lots of opportunities. Of course, being a church person, that you have to get married and find wife and that jazz. So for me, I found love in church. My wife, my wife was a member of my choir group. I also sing, so she sing alto, I sing tenor, and of course the love started there. One day she come, after youth choir practice, she come and ask me.
Like you.
Yeah, ask me if you know anywhere sell good ice cream. So live in Jamaica, it's the Devon House there on the road. What happened? Is that your way of saying you like me? They want to look at Devon House ice cream and I'm carrying a Devon House and thing. And that was where it started. So we got married, and even that, that for me is a story of itself, because there were people discouraging her from getting married to me. Of course. People saying to her that
them are gonna have the foot them like you and all of that.
Yeah, there are people. First of all, there are people who are saying that she is desperate. I say you're desperate. You gotta take up this mania, or the other extreme of saying because him have money and you want him money, my big university lecturer, I'm driving car. You want him money. So you had that. But of course, you can't listen to the naysayers.
I like that.
The naysayers are going to always say something and they're always going to talk. So you just do your thing. And we got married, and I didn't waste any time. We got married December. By March, she was pregnant, and I'm like, let this. And I'm like, God, whatever you do, God, let this child come up looking just like me, because of course you're gonna have to shut up the naysayers who perhaps are gonna say, a jacket.
Cut to fit.
So of course, cut to fit. My daughter came in December of that year. Cut to fit, and I try to be the best that I can to her. She's now 10 years old. And I love her dearly.
It's only one?
One daughter. I have a stepdaughter. But one planting shoot out.
One shot
anymore.
One shot. I do, but not in this climate. I don't know. Children are expensive, and so I have two. One, my stepdaughter is now in college. She's now a first-year student at UWI, and so I have that and that was responsibility. And my daughter goes to prep school, and prep school expensive.
Not cheap.
So I'm good. I have two puppies. That will suffice for now. Yeah, Bella and Sky.
Bella and Sky.
Bella and Sky.
Definitely appreciate you sharing. It just points out like you experience a lot of love and support in your earlier stages through family, through friends in high school and coming up. So it was just fitting for you to be doing what you're doing currently. You know what I mean? We really do appreciate you sharing. But before you do go, can you just give us like one or two gems you can possibly impart on those out there watching? Possibly those with disabilities who want to achieve certain things but might feel as if they can't because of their disability. So if you can give us like two gems.
All right. So I just have a couple philosophy that I live by. Philosophy number one is that my disability maximizes God's ability. That's my mantra. Amen. Beautiful mantra. I've preached when I used to preach messages on top of messages on that, my disability. And all of us, you know, if we should examine our lives, we all have some sort of
What was the purpose?
there is, and there's something in all of us that we say we don't like, you know, whether it's that we don't bright enough or we're not smart enough or we don't look, but there's something that all of us have that we think is not good
enough.
But if we understand that, as you said, Andre, we're here for a purpose, and along with the purpose that we are here is the ability to fulfill that purpose, then we just need to walk in that purpose. I can't tell you the amount of people who have been blessed and touched by my life and my ministry and my testimony and my just words of encouragement that I don't think I would have been able to do if I had 2 good feet.
Because who knows, I'm saying with a private street steered off a different path.
There you go. God knows that be the biggest girl is cause
Mother
girl lower. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you know, walk in your purpose, know what you're here for, and find that. And then secondly, too, that, you know, being disabled just simply means you are differently abled in my estimation. And find what works for you. I wanted to run and play football at Calabar, but I couldn't.
It wasn't for you.
What did I do? So I found what I knew I could do well. I could sing, I could speak. I was in the debating society. I went up for student council president to represent the needs of my student population. So I knew what I could do and what I could do well. So I functioned in my gifting and my calling. So I'd say to anybody, being disabled does simply means you're differently abled, and just find your calling, find your purpose, find your talents and abilities and walk in that. Guide in that and do that, and let your life become the beacon for whatever you can do through that means. So that's those are the gems I would give to anybody who is probably disabled and probably feel discarded and discouraged. Discouraged. Yeah, man, walk in your purpose. There is a purpose for you, and don't let anybody tell you. One of my other mantras: I live my life to prove them wrong. I am going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove. You say I can't do it. You say
I can't do it.
You say I can't marry. I'm not going to get married. You say I can't get picked. I'm going to get picked. You say I can't go to university. I'm going to turn you.
And you did it.
Say, I'm going to do. Listen, I was told I couldn't drive. Yeah, I went to a driving instructor many years ago when I was at Calabar. You know, in sixth form, everybody trying to get them learners and get them license and stuff. And I said, but after menopause, nothing wrong with me. Yeah. And I went to this driving instructor, to this driving school. And the man stood there like for half an hour wondering. In disbelief. How you come learn to drive, Mr. Sir?
Writing.
Mr. Sir, I pay my money in a month. So my receipt here. So my learners here, what government give me. So my receipt here.
May I go drive?
Already, where I say which car we I use, and you know, and then he reluctantly went, and we went in the car, and we go around the car park for about 15 different times. I said, all right, sir, I'm ready to go up on the road now. A 2 hour I pay for.
Yeah.
And you have a license now, right?
About 5 or 6 cars I changed since then, baby.
I used to hype.
Knock on wood, I've never been in an accident.
Nice.
Nobody can drive better than me on the road.
Yeah.
If you want to race me, we'll race you, but I'm not irresponsible. But whatever you want to do, you can do. It's simple.
And walk in your purpose.
Walk in your purpose, man.
And you know, I wanted to ask you one little thing. What is your vision for Jamaica in terms of paying more attention to people with disabilities and our social issues around those things?
Listen to me, Marsha. I think I had the wake-up call of my life some years ago, 2 times. The first time I went to New York, and the second time I went to the country you're now living in, Canada. I went to New York the first time, and I wanted to go around. My aunt got me a mobility scooter. And she said, you know, whenever you're ready to go on the road and go about your business, you can go. And I'm like, really? How that work, auntie? And she said, okay, let's prove it this one time. And we went out and we were at the bus stop in Queens, and a bus came and stopped.
And
And there were other people. Well, man, there were other people in the line, you know. There were other people behind me or with me or in front of me. And the bus stopped, the driver came out, was lowered, came and assisted me onto the thing. It lifted me up, put me in the chair, the man strapped me down. All the while, the other passengers are on the outside waiting. Nobody now kiss them teeth. Nobody now say, oh, can I eat that to the driver? Yeah. And I was like, wow. Wow. And then I went to Canada some years after, and I went, Marsha, I went to Wonderland, Canada's Wonderland, right? You know Wonderland, right, Marsha?
I know of it. I've never been there, but I know of it.
Gosh, no, man,
a bush me live. What me live can't pronounce.
Oh, Jesus. All right. So I went to Wonderland, and when I heard that the group of us were going to Wonderland, I said, no, I don't want to go, because in my Jamaican-ness, I think I'm not going to get to enjoy myself. In Jamaica, when I go to a coconut park or a Coney Island, all I could do was just sit and watch everybody else enjoy themselves. So I was like, okay, I'm going with my Jamaican mentality to this place, thinking that the same thing is going to happen. Lo and behold, I go into a little room, they take my credentials and they say to me, okay, Mr. Powell or sir, can you sit up straight? Can you this? Can you? And they just do a checklist of the nature of your disability. And they say, okay, based on our checklist, you get access to the blue strip. That means I can get, I can go on these rides by myself. And I'm like, all right, because all this work now. And then when I went, the first ride I went to, I see this long line, and I'm thinking, Lord God, this long line, I'm going to manage this long line. Only to be called by one of the attendants to come to, not the entrance, but the exit. And I got to go on the ride first. I was strap me in, make sure me all right, and thing. And then when them strap me in and all right, then they let in everybody. Like,
everybody else, which is right.
I get pride. Here's a country where I get pride of place. What am I saying? My vision for Jamaica, and I know I'm not fool to think that everything is well in these countries, but I'm just saying, here is a country who understands that people who live with disabilities are humans, are people like everybody else, entitled to enjoy the benefits of their country. And I'm thinking that I would want a Jamaica where a person with any kind of disability can get access to the very things that everybody else who's able-bodied gets access. That's just my simple wish and hope for Jamaica. That whenever I get enough money to buy a mobility scooter, which I want to do, but I can't buy a mobility scooter in Jamaica.
You can't use it in Jamaica.
The sidewalk, them not
crazy in the streets, man.
That's
sidewalk cut off,
no
sidewalk.
Yeah, where's the access? I went to Chicago for a conference some years ago, and I was able to use my mobility scooter and just up and down the streets of downtown Chicago by myself. Accessing sidewalks, accessing stores, accessing buildings.
That's
without
true.
Operations are made.
And I'm like, when will my country get to that stage? So that is my hope for anyone who's physically challenged, for the blind, for my blind friends, for my deaf friends, all of the persons with special needs in this country to have total access to the services that we need in an accessible manner. That's my simple dream.
Thank you for sharing that. Mr. Powell, it was a blessing to have you here. You are so bubbly and full of personality, and you have some great stories despite your challenges. And you have been able to overcome a lot of things. This is why we do the program, to share with others, to encourage others. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Maybe if you come back to Jamaica, come live, show me in the application. Yeah.
You can do that. Yes.
Yeah, man. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
You too.
as well. Bless up.
Blessings.
All
Thank
right,
you,
good,
guys.
bye bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.